Hey, D Cruz. Okay, checking recording now. All right. Hey, D Cruz.
Hello, how's it going?
Going good. Got all my audio elements set up properly. Um, I'm Cedar. This is D Cruz. We are talking about trading psychology and the mind game that is how we manage our portfolios. So I saw some posts from you over the last couple days. I'd like you to go into some of that success you're having this year, especially.
Yeah, sure. This year I did kind of I slowed down my strategy a lot. I just kind of, I've just really been a lot more patient on my executions. And I don't know, just really, I wasn't really taking, I took to, like really strict rules in my trading, like kind of like my first 30-minute rule. I've always kind of had that, but it's just been like really, there's been a few times where I've like kind of let contracts run past 10 or something, and it's just really just being really disciplined. So like, just a trading plan and just strictly just following it, and just really maintaining that checklist and the psychology of seeing green and taking green. And I mean, a lot of my trades were, like even within that 14 to like 18% range, right? And I could probably even do an average, and it's probably, I doubt it's over 20%. And that just goes to say, like, that's a lot of seeing green and taking green, and just
Base
really
hits.
really taking, yeah, quick stops. And I mean it, and then that, I mean, obviously just does compound gains. It just adds up a lot quicker than I even expected. But it's just, and that's all really just sizing like 1-2% max this whole year. So it's really like a really healthy way to grow the account. But
For sure.
I do kind of plan on sizing up, but it's just kind of like, why? Like,
Yeah, if it's
well, I don't know.
working.
I might move it over, yeah. But like you were saying, there is a lot of that account that kind of doesn't get touched to an extent. But I mean, it's just the comfortability, I think, of just the whole 1% kind of just changes my
There's no
my
stress.
mindset. It's my psychology, yeah. And it's
Hmm.
just, I let my trade play out. There's not like I'm not oversized to where I'm like, okay, I got to stop out here, and then 5 seconds, or not
It
five
went your
seconds,
direction,
5-10 minutes later, yeah, it hits, yeah.
for sure.
And that
And
and
I
that doing
think
that, it helped with my like kind of, I guess, like perseverance, and just kind of like everything, and just wanting, or just like being able to hold, and like letting that, just my confidence in holding. So
just out of curiosity, what percent position sizing were you trading before?
I was trading like 3 to 5%.
Okay, so
So
not
mhm.
big, but backing that
No,
down
I mean,
and
and that's like last year. I mean, the
yeah.
whenever I was really going like roller coastering, it was like, trying to grow a couple $1,000 accounts here and there, like trying to learn. I'd be doing about 10%, so your good
Okay.
days are really good, but then your bad days were just as bad, if not worse. So just, but after, you finally got that account like mindset down, and I did kind of, get a few trades to boost that account, but then, just started really focusing on position sizing, and overall just managing risk, and cutting the losses. That's what's huge. You really have to accept losses. And if you can't accept a loss, then you're basically, you are gambling. That's, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You think that you could be right 100% of the time. That's just not the case. You gotta like own up to your lessons, right? I don't know, you want to say mistakes. It's just a lesson. You just
It's
get
a
better, and then
lesson if
losses
you
are
do
actually
it.
just part of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, if you carry it forward, it's a lesson. If you keep doing it, it's a mistake.
Right.
There's the
Then it's a
differentiation.
mistake. Right. Yep. I
You
like
are
that.
having
Yes.
your best trading year to date, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Year to date, yeah, it's my best trading. 76% win percentage, and yeah, I haven't really
What about
been doing a lot
profitability?
of
So, because
commons.
win rate's
Mhm.
one thing, right? But
Sure.
if you're doing these base hits and you're taking your green, is the profitability also the best, or is it similar to what you did but with much lower risk because the percentage is smaller?
Year to date, I'm on track to my best year.
Okay,
So I'd
cool.
have made more in previous year, which was actually 2022. And then
Okay.
this year I'm actually on track to making more than that. So it should be a profit increase as well, with even just the same, well, better risk management,
Right.
really.
So
So
that's
that
the
goes,
connection I
and
was going
it's
to draw
yeah,
right
and
there.
it's less positioning, right? Yep,
So
less is more
on
in
track
there.
to
Yes,
have
gotcha.
either an equal year to 2022 or
Right,
possibly the best year ever. And we do
but
still have
way less stress.
way less risk, way less stress. This is the key, guys. I promise. Is not
Yes.
oversizing, is not feeling bad at all. Trade continue to run. I think my trade's up another, not my ES is up another $9 over my $11 that I took. Doesn't matter. I had a meeting I had to walk into, and part of it I didn't have to be, I could have my cell phone kind of off to the side and just bam. But the other part I couldn't. So it is what it is. Don't regret any time you take those base hits. It's such a bad habit to get into. And it's actually not a bad habit to get into. It's a bad practice that most traders that I've ever met allow to just, it's established. Like it's almost intrinsic to starting out trading, is that just happens. That, oh damn, I cut it too early. It could have made more. Yeah, and it could have
Right.
not. So rooting that
And
out.
we've all been there too.
Oh
So
yeah,
we're not like
everyone.
saying like that's like, like don't, it's like bad to do that. It's just, everybody goes through it, but
I don't
it's,
think it's
if
even
you
a choice.
continually keep doing that, right?
I
Oh
think
no,
it's
yeah, I
automatic. I think
agree.
it's just part of the human psyche.
Oh,
And the
100%.
choice
I mean,
is
yeah,
to
it's like,
stop it.
mhm,
Choice is to
yeah,
not let it grow. And it's,
exactly.
which do the weeds or the flowers that you water grow? The ones you don't get rid of. The weeds, they're the vigorous ones, right? Those are like bad habits.
Exactly.
I'm like, if you could just grow like tomatoes on a ragweed plant or a tumbleweed plant, like imagine what would happen. They would be so vigorous. So the bad habits are pulling weeds. You have to be deliberate about it, or they take over, they take the water, they take the nutrients for the good things that we're after. So gotta water them and gotta prune the things that don't belong there. It takes a lot of energy to prune them, but man, once they're gone, you're like, oh man, I used to worry about that. I used to think, oh, damn it, I could have just left it on and just, like put a trailing stop in and I would have made more money. And maybe that's the case. But if you're in a position where you can't sit there and hand manage it, the trailing stop has to be in place. And I really believe that majority of people, as they're learning to trade, should have, and the reason I say majority, I've met a couple people who actually hand manage trades well, but it's very few. So let's go with 95%, maybe even 98%. An automatic 30% trailing stop. So if your contracts are you're entering them at $1 at 70 cents, they get cut. Now, what's going to happen with a 30% trailing is what D. Cruz just described, where it could get stopped out and then it goes back your direction. But what that does is it takes out the decision-making process. It starts to instill some discipline, and you can always get back in the trade. You can always get back in. Unless you oversized and you full ported it. And if you full ported it, you should probably,
Always a better entry.
and it might not be. Like I might all stop out of something and then re-add it a couple pennies higher
A
or
little higher,
a couple
yeah,
lower or
but with
whatever.
more confirmation.
But
You give up some profit for confirmation.
just to
I'm
make
a big
sure.
fan of that as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So you can always go
Yeah,
back
once
in.
it,
Oh,
yeah,
so
once
frustrating.
giving up a few dollars instead of, giving up 10%, that's the difference right there. So,
Or more than
you don't have to
10%.
get the best entry. You could let it roll a little bit, just make sure you get that extra confirmation on the chart, and then, whatever the contract's value, buy that, you give up that little bit of profit for that extra comfortability and confirmation and confidence. And, I would do that any day.
Yep.
That's cheap. That's cheap confidence and
Exactly.
confirmation right there. Just a couple pennies per contract. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So kind of just setting in your head that your TA is super, super critical. You have to understand how to look at a chart. And there's, thousands of ways to do that. That's going to have to be something that's practiced, which is why we all have our, videos to varying degrees of what we do as far as, our process, why Thor and I are doing the lunch and learn, to just really expose you to as many different ways of how we look at things across the staff as possible, so that you can grab things, and you don't want to be jumping all over the place. This is a huge part. You don't want to take what I do exactly and try to do it exactly, because your brain might not process information the same way mine does. But you take a piece of it, and if that works well for you, you might pull together, because mine came from all different places. I didn't copy somebody else exactly. And the flip side of that is I know a fair number of people in this group that have literally just taken all the indicators, watched all my boot camps, and they trade the mechanical levels, and it worked for them. But that's not very typical. You have to make sure that you're grabbing things and giving them enough time to test them so that you understand, is that a process that works for you? So that, the beginning part of trading is that figuring out your edge, your trading edge. And then the rest of it, for the rest of your life, is trading psychology. And it's ever evolving, because as you heard D. Cruz say, he's had to adapt his trading style. And we actually talked about this when we first started doing, did we start this in March? We've been doing it for a while.
We have been doing it for a while, yeah.
You had mentioned that you just did I don't trade lunch at all.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2022 that you started that, or when did you kind of kick that in?
Yeah, kind of last year. Yeah, that was one of my times that I kind of blacklisted, along with a few other times. But
yeah,
now I'm just kind of more open, and it's just
now you're trading different times. But that's the idea, is looking at that pivot. And I actually in 2021, was it 2021, started trading lunch for the first time. Might have been the end of 2020. I'll have to go back and look, but started trading lunch. I had a "you do not trade lunch" alarm, no lunch trades, that popped up 15 minutes. So you could just be like, even though it's not my lunch, it's 10 a.m. here, it's just go take a walk, go leave. Because when you're losing, it's usually the most at lunch. And I lifted that. And now that's one of my most profitable times. It's crazy. But what you're hearing is that two different successful analysts are able to use their edge in different ways at times that work for one and don't work for the other, and vice versa. So just because one person does something well doesn't mean you will or you won't. It has to be something that you test. So you don't take one concept and go, okay, I heard about this anchored VWAP thing, I'm going to do it. And well, I did it 3 times and I lost 3 trades, so that didn't work for me. You need to have a cross section of like 100 trades, hundreds, but at least 100.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you're going to just leapfrog from concept to concept and finally burn out and just say trading's not for me, because all the stuff that those other people did that helped them be successful or what their defined edge is just didn't work for me. And one of the best ways to do that is paper trading. And I go back to this a lot. If you're not, like, how are you going to define your edge as something that this is part of my edge if you lost money and gave up on it? You're not. Then you lose money on this, you lose money on that. It's like a basket case of just all over the place. It's like somebody who changes their major in school every semester. 10 years later, you have a bachelor's degree. Yes, right? Well, we could have a solid PhD sitting under us if, we took a little bit of time to explore it, a year or two.
Right. Instead
of jumping back and forth and not having all the prerequisites figured out. So, I guess that's the closest I can come up with. Or, yeah, it's just the jumping from concept to concept is really not a good thing. You shouldn't have 95 indicators on your chart. Somebody asked me if they should upgrade to what's the highest level on TradingView so they could have more indicators.
The premium, yeah.
And I'm like, well, I had that for a while. And you know what I found
Mm-hmm.
is that while my execution charts with the volume levels that I draw and the structure levels from the 2 previous trading days, they look crazy, but they're all volume-based things. And that's only my execution charts. I don't do my full, higher time frame analysis there. But what I found when I was like, yes, I've got all these indicators, was that I was using 15 indicators, and you had no idea what was happening with the candles. And that was the only thing I did, was like all these things. And what's this level tell me? And, oh, what's the Bollinger Band? Is that a Bollinger Band, or is that one of the DC channels? It was all over the place. And that's not going to help you. So that's why you hear a lot of people talking about simplifying.
Yep. And that's what I did a lot this year. Basically, a lot more supply and demand, and just not even I don't really even use EMAs anymore. I used to use EMAs like, I don't know, a lot, but now it's just they're there and I'm just aware of them. And
Yeah.
you know, I took MACD off. I don't really use that. You know, RSI is there, but you know, there's time and place for that. But it's just a lot of just really intraday levels, and they're just right in
Yep.
front of you every day, and that's why it's really hard for this, you know, to really fail. It's just, you know, there's you're always going to have a pre-market low, you're always going to have a overnight high, you're always going to have, you know, intraday low, you're always going to have intraday high. You know, just it's just really simplified, and just, you know, just trying to make it as, you know, I'm really firm believer in KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And
Absolutely.
you know, as easy as I can make this and get by with making money, like I'm gonna, yeah, oh yeah, like I'll do anything I can to make it as easy as can be, right?
Yep.
So,
And there's some stuff that's similar about what we do. So I went to an
mhm.
SMA about
Oh yeah.
7.5, 8 years. I was using EMAs because somewhere somebody said they were
Mhm.
better, and I said okay, and just used them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then finally was like, I've never really
Yep.
compared them side by side. So I ran them
Yep.
side by side for months and months, and finally decided that for me, it actually helps me better to use a simple moving average that are at varying levels. So 10 is on every single chart that I touch anywhere for any reason, a 10, a 50, and a 200. And sometimes I do the 20 and the 50. But I have them color coded. I know what they are. And if I find myself
Yep.
confused with it, I pretty much ignore them at this point, except for on the higher time frames, except the 10. 10 on all time frames. It is literally the the moving average for me. It's made me the more money than anything else except anchored VWAP in my entire trading career. Which is why I filmed the second New Traders Bootcamp. Like that whole recording was geared towards what that concept is. So if you're finding yourself overwhelmed, that keep it simple, stupid, the KISS principle, which is not just in trading, it's everything. Find one thing and study it until your eyes are bleeding. Like back test it, paper trade it. Start with small. And the psychology behind that is you've got to give it a chance. You've got to give it a chance to work. If you're bouncing back and forth. Oh, the other thing I was going to say before this, I took RSI off my charts about 12 years ago. Had to have been, no, it was longer than that, 14. But I left MACD, actually an oscillator, in the form of my Fu Manchu cipher, because I found that,
Mhm.
I ran the Fu Manchu and the just regular MACD side by side, the same idea for a while. No reason to have both of them. I want to see which one gives me confirmation. So it's never an alert. It's never an entry like, oh, yes, I'm entering because it rendered a green dot or a red dot above or below the money flow line. But for me, it's confirmation and was faster than MACD, but I don't have RSI. So there's where D Cruz and I are completely different, because he dropped his MACD off and kept his RSI, even though it's confluence for him. It's not a primary trade indicator. So let's think about, I know here's a good, this is a good way to think about habits and to think about like how much practice you need to do. So whatever you're doing, sit up in your chair, cross your arms over, whatever direction they cross. And like, it's comfortable, right? You could just like let your arms hang there. Now switch them.
Yeah, it's the most awkward thing in the world,
And you're
right?
like, do these hands even belong to me? Like, this is, I'm having to hold
Yeah.
my arms in place. Like, what the
You
heck?
even have to like look down and say like, okay, is
Yeah,
this how
it's
you do
like
it? Like,
right arm,
is this
left
how
arm. Okay,
I
wait.
do it the other? Okay,
Before,
like
my
my
right
wrists
hand was
crossed the same. Yeah.
over my bicep and my left hand just snugged in. Okay, so you like literally have to verbally walk yourself through. Okay, so that means my left
Right.
hand's gonna go over my right bicep
Yeah.
and my other hand's gonna weave in. So you had to slow
And
it
that's,
down,
you know, that's kind of like,
and
yep,
it's not
that's kind
comfortable.
of like taking somebody else's strategy, you know.
And
They're crossing
or
their arms
just
for you.
trying it a couple
Yeah.
times and telling you it's not for you.
Yeah.
Because if you did it the other way, it probably wouldn't make any difference if you practiced it for a while. We just do what's comfortable. And the other thing that I would heavily recommend, because it's actually even a more significant experience, to get people comfortable. Being uncomfortable, that doesn't mean you're just like, I'm just going to let it lose me money until it makes me money. But being uncomfortable, trying new things, or simplifying where you don't feel like you have all the crutches and you've got 3 different oscillators and you've got RSI, which is also part of an oscillator, and you have, all the bands and and it's like, there are candles somewhere in this chart, I promise, right? So I've got to have all these things there. So here's your homework challenge. If you're right-handed, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you probably brush your teeth with your right hand.
Oh yeah, probably.
Probably. I mean,
if not, then you're probably or why can't I think of the name?
Ambidextrous. Yeah, you could be
ambidextrous. Sorry, I was in the middle of typing.
but typically it's going to be your dominant side. I call that my smarter side, right? Because it has the motor patterns. That's why I'm right-handed.
Yeah, and we've just done things with the right hand more.
And practiced them and practiced them. So you go and you take your toothbrush with your non-dominant hand and brush your teeth. It is the most annoying, ridiculous thing you will probably do to yourself this decade. It's like handing a 2-year-old a toothbrush and being like, here, brush mom's teeth. You're like, whose idea was this? Like bumping myself in the gums and like, ow, ow, ow. What is that? I can't make the angle.
In your cheek and
it's in the cheek. I'm like, I can't get that back molar. I can't brush it. And I'm looking at my hands and I'm thinking, I did this actually as part of my personal training coaching business. I've been doing mindset coaching with that since, I have to think back dates, like 2011. I started doing it in a structured format. And so I've been using that particular, the arms crossed, and it's actually even sitting on the ground, like the crisscross style, switching the other direction, and the toothbrush to help people understand how hard it is to change habits, which some of the habits are oversizing, some of the habits are holding too long, especially on losers, are on adding to losers, all the habits we want to get rid of. Right. It's uncomfortable because that's what our knee-jerk reaction is, to just go back to the things that we've done before, falling back into those old habits. And I'll tell you what, brushing your teeth with your left hand, and then of course you have to go brush them with your right, because then they'll actually be correct. They'll actually be clean.
Right.
But you should set like a 1-minute timer and give yourself 1 minute of practice with the wrong hand. And see after 30 days, just one time a day, it doesn't have to be multiples, however, if you're diligent, you want to try it a couple times a day, but at least one time a day. It's before you turn in. Maybe don't want to do it in the early morning because it's more frustrating then.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
just want to
brush my damn teeth. But
yeah,
it starts to expand from a neuroplasticity level, from how the brain learns, develops new skill sets. It's a muscle the exact same way that doing squats is for your legs and doing planks are for core. If you do them in short little bursts, you get better and better and better, and then you can do them for a little longer. Same thing with running, better and better and better, and you can do them for a little longer. And it goes with all habit creation. So if you're finding yourself falling back into old habits and really just struggling with it, practicing the ability to change other things about you so that you're more comfortable with the uncomfortable probably will help you getting out of the rut of making those bad decisions that you're like, I did it again. Did I really do it again? What was I thinking? I can't tell you how many times in my trading career I've said that to myself, where I'm like, what was I doing? Before I had the self-control to be able to just be like, yep, I'm not adding to that, because all of a sudden you're in 20% position size in a losing trade that's still going against you. Now you're at 50%, and now half your account's blown. And it was enough times that it was obviously not just a TA judgment thing, it was psychological. So self-control and willpower is a non-renewable resource. There's only a certain amount that you have, basically, if we think about it like a bank, that you can take out of through each day. So what we try to do from a neurological perspective, from a brain perspective, is use the self-control and the willpower to create habit around the things that you want to do. Because you're not going to wake up motivated every day. You're not going to wake up like super structured every day until it's so much of a habit that you're actually mad when you didn't I didn't get my pre-market prep done, so I'm not going to trade. Part of my rules. And it's not, well, I woke up late. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 21 years. And that was what I did Monday. I was like, or Tuesday. Tuesday. I just said, I'm just going to, gonna have a mellow trading day. I definitely came in late, much later than I was supposed to on my flight, and a little bit off from time changes. And I'm like, okay, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't rushing
Gotta
into a
take time to
trade.
ease into it. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So
Ease into it.
challenge to take that motivation of wanting to get better at trading, to use the willpower. You have to set the rules. You have to check the boxes of, did I follow my rules for these trades? So that it's automatic, it's habit. And if you don't write it down, what your rules are, what your checked boxes are that you're supposed to be paying attention to, I can pretty dang close, 99.5% guarantee that you are costing yourself money. You might not be losing out of your account, but I can promise that you are not as profitable. And that was why I asked you about that profitability, because I know win rate is, people are all excited about win rate. Some of the best traders, most profitable traders
Right.
on the planet are like 50, 51%. Totally
And I
fine.
have seen that too, yeah.
Yeah. So, the 60,
At the same
70s,
time, I'm also trying to build
right.
as well because this is like, my only gig really right now. So
Yeah. And it's
another big part
respect
of
for
it.
capital. It's,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and it's made you more money and increase your win rate, right? So, I mean, it's just this beautiful
Yep.
confirmation all the
really
way
is.
around. Everything's better. That's a beautiful thing. So let's use, for those of you, if you're, not as profitable as you'd like to be, or still kind of seeing those wild capital swings where you've got big inflows, big outflows, and you're like, oh my gosh. Or worse yet, you're somebody who just continues to put money in the account to keep trying, which is treating it like a slot machine, right? You should only deposit one time in a trading account.
Yep.
And so if you're continuing to do that, that's a huge heads up that you need to get journaling. You need to get, even if it's just handwritten notes about each trade, doesn't have to
You
be
guys can
typed or
trade
whatever.
for free too. It's called paper trading.
Mhm.
Test your strategies, do that. There's still times whenever I'll kind of go off and
Oh, I
kind of
paper
paper
trade.
trade,
Yeah.
not alert or anything,
Yeah.
and just like right now I'm actually working on a power hour strategy, but these power hours are just kind of boring and unplayable. So I'm definitely not going to throw my money out there. But
Yeah.
while
Anytime
I'm
I test a new
kind of working on
strategy,
that,
I've
Yeah.
traded it for a month or better before I'm going to touch it with real capital. It's going to be, it's going to be an
on
extended,
paper.
yeah, because I might have to fine tune it. I might have to adjust things. I might just be like, well, this was working for me, but now it's not. So let me test it and see if I can tweak it a little bit. Well, if it hasn't been working for me as well as it did, I'm sure the heck not going to keep putting real money in it. I'm going to figure out what the error is that I'm making or what needs to be changed based on market conditions. So as you're transitioning out of, like you've established what that defined edge is with paper trading, you do eventually have to go use real money, but it has to be a super small amount.
Right.
Because I know so many people, including myself, that it's perfect when you did it with paper. And as soon as real money came in, because now you're oversized, because, those habits are there. I did it enough times that I know doesn't even matter. So if I were on my 10K challenge account and testing a new strategy, and I sim traded it to make sure I have an understanding of over a month or better, this is something that I'm seeing well and that has repeatable results over many, many trades. I'm going to start with one contract. And we're not talking an SPX, $5 contract. We're talking not my 5% position sizing. It's like 1/4%, whatever the smallest is, because if it's not something that's part of just that habit of how you cross your arms, where it's smooth and comfortable, you're probably going to trip on your shoelaces. So it's stages, and then move to 2 contracts. So, they were 55 cents a piece. So I took one that was 0.1%. Or sorry, that was not 0.1%, 0.5%. So then I'm going to move to 2. Now I'm in 1%. And I don't do that as long now as I used to, but I would suggest if you've been trading less than 5 years, you should sit a 2 or 2.5% position on that new type of trade setup or the new thing for a month or better before you then take it up to maybe 3.5 or 4%, and then eventually get it back to if your max is 5%. Same thing would be for D Cruz. If he's normally trading 1 to 2%, he's now going to trade 1/4%. or a 0.5%.
Yep.
It has to be
Just while you're-
small, and you got to get skin in the
While you're
game.
fine tuning everything.
Once you have established, okay, this is looks like it's repeated execution potential, to know that it's actually true, especially if you've been trading for less than 5 years, and especially because the time isn't it necessarily. Unfortunately, I've worked with people who have traded almost as long as me and are somehow still, other than their long-term investments, not able to day trade well because they weren't putting the discipline in place. They were not thinking about it as a business. And once you start changing that, you proceduralize everything, and it's a business, not putting all my eggs in one basket. And yes, it's okay that you got a lot of money in other things. My long-term investments are great. I've got real estate. and I've heard all this, my 401k is huge, but somehow every time I get a trading account, I just keep putting another 10 grand in, or 15 grand, or 50 grand. And I'm like, okay, well, if that were a business, what conversation would we be having about it, right? It is your business. It's your primary gig. It's how you make your money. It's where I make my most money, even though I have many other oars in the water. But it still has to be respected. So just add that to your business portfolio as your trading career. White Dragon asked, how did you break your bad habits? By paper trading for a month. No, I had to set some, I'm a person motivated by pain. I'm not really, I like the idea of, oh, that sounds fun. And trading kind of has that like excitement thing to it. I had to instill some pretty stiff penalties because was that 26? Was impulsive enough that I just I kept breaking my rules, and I kept losing and kept losing. So I finally had to get my rules written out and do my checklist. And yes, with paper trading, it's going to be a lot easier to do with paper trading once real money, that skin in the game, comes back in. But you establish the rules of how what the setup is when you enter the trade, what potential profit targets are there. If this happens, then I do this kind of game plan. So if this, then is the term. It's strategizing, and then exited the trade. And why did I exit it? Did it follow the plan? Did I just see too many sellers coming in on tick by tick? What was the reason behind it? So getting some of the mental pieces into that and going back and looking at it. And so if I did not follow the rules, journaled or not, written down or not, if I broke my rules, AKA oversizing, adding to losing positions, knife catching when it was not dependent on a key level, or something like anchored VWAP, or one of the more critical volume pieces, just like, oh, it's down a bunch, then first time you do it, you don't get to trade the next day. Second time you do it, you don't get to trade for a week. So now it's 5 days. The third time you do it, it's a month. And it's pretty stiff. Because at first I just did it, oh, you just don't get to trade tomorrow. And I'd be like, well, that's okay. I had errands to run, and I'm busy at work. I've got appointments all day. It's fine. So I would kind of justify it out. And I just kept finding myself like it didn't really work to do a day. It had to be escalated severity because I kept doing it. And it was just so much that I thought, seriously, what is my problem? And the answer is, it was not enough pain for me to get over it. So you give your password to a significant other, family member, somebody you can trust, obviously, because they could transfer your funds out. That would be a little weird. Mine was my husband. And it was, if I can't explain what I did and why I did it, I don't get to trade tomorrow. And then we had to escalate it to, you don't get to trade for a week, you don't get to trade for a month. And it was like, I thought I was going to die. Because I'm like, I can't trade. I can paper trade, but I can't trade. Oh, dying. It was like a drug withdrawal. But that helped me develop the sit out power that I talk about, or Odysseus and the Sirens, where you can, sit out, still do your analysis. It took a lot of the immediate gratification out of it for me, because it was definitely impulsive and not being well controlled. So that would be, and I've had a couple DM conversations with people that, we've watched struggle through the years of, I'm in 50, 100 contracts on a 10K account, like way oversized. And when they had that enforced, so signing over letting the spouse lock them out for the next 24 hours, they traded well. And as soon as that was removed for whatever reason, and I don't go into personal stuff with any, I'm just like, hey, here's what my suggestion is, here's what worked for me. And as soon as that's no longer happening with the spouse, either because you just told them you weren't trading, so then they didn't lock you out, or what, I don't know, like that's between you and how you manage your self-control. I had to be locked out by somebody else because I would just go back in and trade the next day. As soon as they go back to not being locked out, not having that penalty, or having somebody else be their risk manager, most people don't do it for long enough. So it has to be consistency that it actually sticks. So we're talking for, if you hit a month penalty of you're not trading for a month, that means you now have a year worth of in-house lockdown, meaning that person, you're asking a lot of somebody, and there's some spouses that should absolutely know nothing about what you're trading, because the stress that they overlay on what you're doing, it impedes your performance. So it might be like best friend or somebody else, just make sure that you trust them with the fact that they could pull money out of your account. Mom is a good one. There's not the stress of my partner knows, how much money I lost or how much money I made today, because they get all excited, they're on cloud 9, and then they're all depressed, all the initial emotions I think that we have as newer traders, they can't even understand. They're going through it at tenfold what we do. We're like, it's I lost 40% on that trade. It's fine. I'll make it up because I'll make 100% on another one later this week, or, something like that. I'm all good. Or I'll have 3 in a row that are 30% each. All good. No stress because I wasn't oversized.
Don't let bad habits, turn into muscle memory, and just, just really, really slow down your trading technique, and just let your good habits form and just become muscle memory, right? And then patience, gets easier over time, and losses are easier, and it's just everything gets better if you're just really, really practicing on, weeding out the bad and sticking to the good, and just really, really being patient with executions. But
yeah, it's all about developing your own risk manager, and for some people that can be them, and for some people they need somebody else.
Yeah, don't let your account go into zero be like, okay, now it's time to step away, because no, I mean, just one, and I see it pretty often too, and it's not really, it's really sad to see, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just, you'll just see somebody just continuously revenge trade and just slowly blow their account, and then the next day you'll have this lovely trend day, and it's just hard not to make money, and it's just dang, if you just wait,
you're so mad. You're so mad. You're like, I broke my rule. I have 1 day off break, and now I can't trade today, or I blew my account and I can't trade today. Both of them are just
but that gets you alive, and then you come back the next day and you're sitting there okay, now it's time to trade because I could trade now, and then it's a chop fest, and you're just stuck in that PA again. That's why it's important. You really got to pick the days to trade and days not to trade. Don't get chopped up in a chop fest. Go do something, or if you're not seeing price action correctly, just go do something else. There's plenty of things that need to be done in our lives, I'm sure, right? And, pick the good days to trade, especially when you're learning and trying to develop a habit. And then bad days, simply avoid them, or hit that paper trade account.
Yeah, so when you're on a streak of losing, that doesn't mean go trade more to try to make it up. What it means is, all right, so my rule is 3 in a row.
Find out where you're going.
Especially if, I'm obviously, my brain is clearly not seeing the market well. And, everybody, you could wake up with a bad hair day. So you could wake up with a not in the right place for what the market is. That's pretty typical for traders that I even know that have been trading for 50 years. Am I seeing the market well? Am what I'm doing right now, is this in my best interest? Are questions you should be asking yourself every day in every trade. It is hard to step away, But if you're going to be around, developing your own risk manager, yourself as your risk manager, needs to be in your top priority of things right as you're learning your TA.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Learn how to manage risk, you'll actually see how, this is how doable this is. And it's just, it's not as hard as you think, especially, when you piece 3 wins together and you're doing really good, being patient for those 3 wins, you're on a nice little streak, and then one poorly managed position,
Yep.
just kind of, wipes all of that out. It's really hard to, because then you're starting to go in those circles again, and it's just really hard to just move on with progress and just confidence, right? It's really like confidence drain. So you got to try to, stick to strict rules and just, keep those losses small to where they're salvageable, and just, then you can make it back easier than like, negative 100% trade or negative 80% trade that wipes out your previous, 4 20% or 5 20% trades that have worked so hard, right? And then you kind of just sit there and you just mismanage one trade, and you're just like, oh, whatever, like I've been on a nice streak. Like, oh no, you can't think like that. So
Yeah.
because one trade will go against you, and that's
Oh no, that's the one
hurts.
you oversized in. Like it is,
Yep.
so, I don't know how it happens, but you're like, okay, following my rules, rules. Dang, I'm on a pretty good streak. I think I'm going to lean into this a little more. Now I'm going to go with 10% or 20%. Oh my gosh. Somehow that trade, for me at least, every single time is the trade that goes against me. And I'm
Oh, yeah, me
like,
too.
why did if I knew that was going to be the loser, do you think I would have leaned into that more? Like, what are we doing? Somewhere
Right.
on some level you knew. So if you weren't answering your questions of, what was the condition of the market, what are you doing actually entering your trades? You don't know that. And here we are with what, 5% success rate with trading as a career. It's pretty low. It
Mhm.
might be lower than
Yep.
any profession.
Less than 10%. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
low.
I think it's way less than 10%. I think it is, that 1 to 5% even.
Yeah.
I
Oh, and
mean,
I would
there's
say
a lot of
long term
people out
it's
there that try
1%.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. But I never even looked at those odds whenever I started beginning,
Oh, I
because
had no idea there
I'm
were
never
odds.
that lucky one. I've been through I don't know how many contests I've bought. I don't know how many, even like free raffles, like friendly little contests. I never win. I've never won like anything like that, and it's just like my luck for something. Then I see those odds, I would probably be like, yeah, I'm not going to become profitable. But hey, like I'm not no mathematician. I'm not, I was actually studying radiology in college. I never finished it, but yeah, here I am. But I would have had a pretty hefty debt check if I would have went that way.
Right.
So radiology school is not inexpensive at all. It is very pricey.
For sure. Although
I think I would have had
pays very
somewhere
well.
around like a couple $100K debt, like 250 to 300K debt if I would have went to radiology school. So
Yeah.
yep. I mean, obviously you make that back in a year, but
It takes you a little longer than a year to pay it off, for sure.
A little longer, a little longer.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
the two key things I think I want to just impart coming out of this
Touch back on.
are like the culmination of all the things we've been talking about is what I'm doing in my best interest. So these go on Post-it notes, especially if you're struggling right now. Keep your powder dry. So that's preserving the capital. And the third one, oh, it's escaped me now. Oh. And I'm at the gym.
Are you
so-
not at your?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I'm at the gym.
I remember seeing a
apparently
picture of your
need
setup,
to
and you have them.
copy
She
these.
actually has Post-its, you guys, on her screen.
It's in the psychology
That's-
channel. It's another
yeah.
one that's really, so keep the powder, it's along the same lines as keep your powder dry. But yeah, I'm like looking at my Post-its at the gym, and like these are not my Post-its for this right now. I'll post it later.
Right, right.
I'll put it in
Yeah.
the notes for the channel, because it might just be food
No
time.
worries.
I'm a little late. It's 1:14
Oh, yeah.
and I'm a little hungry. So I think I do like this time though, coming into Wednesday Power Hour. And one of the reasons we really talked about changing this was I think I see a lot of people really struggle on Wednesdays. And I definitely had for a long time, like you don't even trade Wednesday until Power Hour. Because that kept just being my either not as profitable day or the day that I gave money back through the week. Shell
Yep.
Shock just said
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are
whipsaw,
the hardest
whipsaw
for sure.
Wednesdays.
Yep.
So,
So Wednesdays, yep.
so then when I fixed
Choppy days
Wednesdays,
for sure.
then Tuesdays became what I called my $900 day. They were significantly
Mhm.
lower amount of income than all my other trading
Right.
days. And I'm like, so why am I even, what
But
am I doing? Like, could I find a better way to spend my day than my lowest profitability day of the week now that I've fixed Wednesday, which was sometimes my loser, or was that? So I kind of ironed all that stuff out through the years, of course, but knowing what days those are is critical for you. And I think Wednesdays, I've seen more people have that comment than any other day,
yeah,
for sure.
Wednesdays are the worst. And if you guys are new, even whenever I was learning, I only traded Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays because those were the only days I made money. And then after a while, Fridays started to be my bad day out of those because I was really greedy because
Yeah.
that was only, I would do 3 days out of the 5 day week, and then I would just murder myself. So now ever since then, Fridays I just look at as like not even a day, like it's just everything I make on Friday is extra. So I'm happy with, $10 to anywhere to whatever my daily goal. But I don't really have a goal, like for especially on Fridays. I just, if the market's gonna give me something, I'll take it, but I'm not gonna stick my profits, my hard-earned profits throughout the week out there just for, a lotto day, a gambling day, really. So
Yeah.
yeah, Fridays are usually those are usually the hardest days to trade, and it's just, everybody's just kind of gambling and trying to make their week back, and that's what kind of just whips price action around, and it's just really, really annoying to, I don't know, just trade. I don't know.
I just
It's a good
remembered
time
what
and
it
place,
is.
I'm sure.
I remembered it's not one of my post-it notes. Live to fight another day.
Oh yes.
And it's along the same idea of keep your powder dry. I was like, it's so close that it's almost
yeah.
the same thing. Live to fight another
Yeah.
day. When you are
Yes, that is huge.
in battle, sometimes you retreat because you're like, okay, I got to find better ground. I've got to, and this is probably the closest that most people are ever going to be to actually being like street fight, or battle, with somebody shooting at you, kind of like crossfire kind of situation. And if you blow up your account, what D Cruz was just talking about on that day, that consolidation day, that's where that phrase came from. As I was thinking about that, do I live to fight another
Right.
day?
Mhm.
So those are your three
Yeah, and
three quotes.
you're always you learn something every day, lesson a day, right? And it's
Mhm.
just you learn that and you apply it, so you're getting better every day. So
Exactly.
just
One
continue to
1% a
grow,
day
and
is a dramatic thing in a year, and that's
you're gonna
capital
start seeing,
and change.
yeah, you're gonna start seeing your account fluctuate for the better, and then that's gonna give you confidence, and you're gonna develop good habits off of that. So
Yep.
keep it up, you guys. You guys are all here still, so that's something, and you guys will get this.
Totally. All right, I'm running a couple minutes behind, but I will
Yes, I do
wrap
gotta
up this
head
recording.
out
And
here.
it was good. I actually like that we've got a little bit more cushion here to talk a little longer if we got more stuff to talk about, because I have a hard 30 minutes at that noon hour.
Right.
So
Now it's a little,
Yeah.
okay, that's better.
yeah,
Cool.
beautiful.
Sweet. And then I do see some new faces in here too, so that's cool. So what's up, you
Yep.
guys? I'm glad you could make this one, and yeah, we'll be doing it. Yeah,
Weekly.
we'll be doing this daily. I mean,
Oh,
weekly.
weekly.
Yeah,
I don't know if
sorry,
I could
every
do
Wednesday.
daily.
Once again,
We might
it's
be
really
like, I'm out of
something.
things to say. I can't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've said the same thing for 63 days in a row now. No, but if you guys do have more things that you'd like to hear your analysts talk about, we do have our two new analysts, Tyler and Ocean, who, I really like to see some different things that, what will help you in your trading. What would you like to hear us talk about? It really helps give us some ideas. And we're just drawing from what we're seeing people struggle with through the week.
Let us guide you.
Yep.
Please ask us questions. We're that's what we're here for. And if you guys are struggling with anything, I guarantee you, we both have gone through it. All of us have
Multiple
gone through
times,
it.
not just once.
Multiple times, yes. No.
It's trips
And
to
we're
the
not saying
thinking.
like, you're gonna go through it multiple times too. It's just, that's why we're here, so
Yeah.
you don't do that.
I hope
So
you don't.
pick our brains, ask our questions, and yeah, just
Yeah,
That's what we're
I
here
call
for.
that all the time, trips to the spanking machine. We have all had our trips to the spanking machine and still do every once in a while. But it's about that, okay, carry that forward to the next time. All right, okay. If this
Right.
is happening, then I will or will not kind of things need to go. So I will post this recording in the psychology channel. And there are some new threads that I set up. I'm wondering if I should be putting this, because now it's in the psychology channel. Yeah, we'll just keep it how we've been doing it. So awesome.
Sure.
And
Yeah, that
thinking
works.
I might be able to stream tomorrow afternoon for a couple of hours live trading after I get back.
Nice.
So after lunchtime market, let me think here, 11:15 my time, 1:15. I'll probably be able to stream live trade from 1:15 on tomorrow. Hint, hint,
Great.
if you
Okay,
want to come
cool.
hang out.
Yes, I got the, yep. I'll take that invite. I'll come in.
That'd be awesome.
Hopefully the market's giving us something, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
right now, I don't think.
Oh,
you know,
unless
this,
it's a
this setup right now
consolidation.
for Power Hour, we do have a Fed speaker, kind of like just going over really like just listening. So it's not really like a questionnaire kind of thing, but
Is it
every
a
other,
Fed
like
speaker
other
or
Fed
is it?
speakers.
I feel like it's
Isn't it?
Beige Book.
Is it not?
Let's
Logan,
look.
right?
I need to.
Well, I mean, somebody's talking about something there, so there's a little bit of volatility here,
So we've
and
got
it's
Beige Book.
right now
Oh,
we're right at that
Logan's
big
at
line of
3.
fees.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. It's a
Mhm.
community
Yep.
listening
So we've
session, though.
been
That's probably not a. He's probably not going to
right.
talk Fed policy there.
It'll probably just chop into
Yeah.
chop into close. So not much for me here. I already like what the market did with what we had today. A lot of the gap down was due to that China news. I would think, of course. I mean that's just not that's not exactly why it happened. But there was a sell off due to that Apple news, and Apple did
Yeah.
have a significantly weaker day here, and that did commence selling off and then dicey. So that was unfortunate news overnight, and that's also why I'm constantly saying it's hard to trust swings with China with all their
For
news.
sure.
Their economy is like really, really bad. Like it's terrible right now. So, and they're trading while we're asleep, and then that's usually when all that China news comes out, and then we can't do nothing about that overnight, and
Mhm.
and plays get crushed. So we got to really play for the day. We really have to play for that profit. When it's there, you got to take it. That's how you're successful during these choppy months.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I
Just
cannot
keep
wait
that
to
in
be
mind.
back in regular swings. This is
Oh man,
over the last 3 years. This is the most I have ever day traded in my life, and I love it. Like, don't get me wrong, but
oh,
I would
I'm
like to
getting tired
have a
of
few swings that
just let me swing, but just make me money in the background.
2 months out. I can hold it for a
A
couple
little
weeks.
cushion, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then
Yeah.
on the sell day, or like on a, you take a few day trade losses, cut out some swings, trim some swings, get some profit in. Man, I miss those days.
Yep. They'll be
Yep,
back.
we're
They'll
close.
be here.
Yeah, we're close.
Okay. I'm cutting the recording off now, but I'll stay
Yeah.
on with you.